growing up, I always struggled with friendships. I never really had super close friends, like how people would say, oh, I've been friends with this person since I was in primary school or secondary school. I still have relationships with people from secondary school. I can't think of anyone that I have known since primary school that I'm still friends with, but I still have relationships with people from secondary school. We're not super tight, close friends in the way that I think of like the first tier of best friendship, because best friend is a tier, not a person. But I've really just not had that experience, and it's something that I've struggled with. And I only started really building friendships when I entered university. That's when I think I started having actual like people that I could call my friends, as my coach would say, my core one. And that is what I'm going to be talking about on this episode. And for the next 3 or so podcasts, I'll be talking about friendships, building them, maintaining them, and what are they really. On an unrelated note, I want to start by saying I've never actually watched Friends from start to finish. I've got a couple of episodes of the TV show, but I've never actually like watched from season 1 to whatever season they ended in, every single episode. But that's just by the way. It just felt right to mention it on an episode about Friends. So back to what I was saying. When I say I'm like Friends didn't really start until I was in uni, I mean that people who were in my physical, geographical location. And because I did have a couple of friends from the internet, I talked about one of them in my previous episode on how I got into tech. And there are many of them like that they became my friends from the internet, basically. And most of them I didn't meet for a very long time until I entered into uni again, because I was friends with them since when I was in like high school, and I was on the internet sharing about God knows what. But yeah, what really is a friendship? I think that there's this theory that I learned in psychology undergrad that I can't forget for some reason, and it's Sternberg's triangular theory of love. And he posits that love consists of 3 things, and this is in terms of like romantic partnerships, I believe. And it's intimacy, passion, and commitment. The intimacy part is about vulnerability, sharing, like emotional intimacy. And then the passion part is about like physical attraction, sexual desire, blah, blah, blah. And then the commitment part is the part where you make a decision to actually remain here. And it's one of the things I really remember from uni, because I actually agree with it to a large extent. And when I think about friendships, I also have a somewhat triangular theory of friendships. And I think that intimacy is core, vulnerability, sharing, having those moments. And then in place of passion, in the way Sternberg puts it, I would say shared experiences or interest. And then the decision commitment part is also part of the friendship triangular theory of Lade Tawak. Thank you very much. Or Lade Tawak's triangular theory of friendship. But you get my point. When I think about the friends that I had online, I think about how those 3 things were present in some way. There was a lot of vulnerability. I was sharing a lot about my pain, my anger, my angst, everything. And they were also sharing back with me and sharing their experiences, because most of them, like I said, were significantly quite older than me. And they opened up space for me to be able to share vulnerably and also share with me. And they saw me as, like, regardless of my age, they saw me as a person, and that helped build that relationship. The second thing in my triangular theory of friendship is shared interest and experiences. And many of those people were also writers at the time, or they were interested in the arts and literature, which is what I was really interested in then. Books, photography, those kinds of things. And we had that shared common interest, and that was another layer on top of that. And then the third part is the clearest part. We all decided to be friends, even though they may not necessarily have been I have decided that you are my friend. There was, in the way that we acted towards one another, even online, there was that undertone that we have committed to being friends, because we are committing to continue being vulnerable with one another, continue sharing, continue supporting and encouraging one another. So having laid that foundation, what does it really mean when someone is your friend? Sometimes we have this sense where it's like, oh, I haven't spoken to this person in 3 weeks. Are they still my friend? Or we don't talk as much as we used to talk. Are we still friends? And all these challenges and complicated things that occur when human beings are interacting with one another. And I think about the friendship that I made in Unilag, like I mentioned, is where I started actually having friends in my physical geographical location. Some of the people that I met online, that were my friends online, also went to Unilag or were already in Unilag. So when I got into Unilag, it was easier to even develop that friendship further, and we were able to be more connected. Think about how if you were in high school and there were people who were maybe very close in high school, but they were just there, and then they moved abroad, maybe to the same city. Most of the time, those people tend to become very good friends. And why is that? It's because you have the shared experience, and there's some level of familiarity because you guys have known each other from before, and you're in a new place, you're in a strange place, and you immediately bond over that shared experience of newness, feeling out of place, and so forth. And is also my theory of why people make lifelong friendships in NYC camp. You guys are bonding over shared trauma and suffering, and that is a shared experience. And you are in a very terrible situation for practically 3 weeks, and then for like a couple of months after that. And so that lays the foundation for building friendships on shared experiences. It's also why most of the time your tightest circle of friends in university will be the people who you all did your registration and all those stressful processes together, because you are seeing each other regularly. That's one more thing. Mere exposure, repeated exposure. I don't know where to fit it in my triangular theory. Maybe it's a square theory now. But repeated exposure in some form, whether it's virtual or physical, is an essential part of the friendship equation, in my opinion. So what is a friend? Who is a friend? And something I see a lot that's very funny to me is like, stop calling everybody a friend. Some people like acquaintances, blah, 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 which I mean is true. But sometimes it's really difficult to classify people. And something that I really subscribe to the idea of, and I think the guy that writes the Wait But Why newsletter websites, I can't remember his name now, he's written something about like tiers of friendships or tiers of friendship. And I think that that is a very sensible way to look at things. I think that as someone who has many friends with varying levels of closeness and vulnerability and different kinds of things that we do together, I see the point of tiers of friendships. I'm not thinking of it as only one person can occupy this space in my life at any given point. I mean, if that's how you are, that's fine. That's up to you. But I think that for most people, it's not a thing where only one person occupies this certain position in your life as your best friend. And I think that people move in and out of the different tiers of friendship, and it's based on like you being the center. I mean, it's about you being the center, and then there's circles of people around you, and the further away they are from you in terms of vulnerability, shared experiences, and the commitments and repeated exposure, the further away they are in that staircase plane distance from you. I have a friend that I often question whether we're still friends or not, because there was a time where we used to talk like practically every day. And then as time went on, I started feeling like I was forcing the friendship, talking, like always reaching out. And I had to have a conversation with this person like, this is how I feel. I don't know if I am reading something into it. Do you still want to be my friend? Are we still friends? Because I'm a very like, let's know what's happening. Everybody should talk their mind so that we can all be on the same page, and people are not working off assumptions about where they are in and their place in each other's lives, which is a very essential thing to do so you don't misbehave, quote unquote. And I've had friendships like that where it's like we haven't spoken in a while and we usually talk every day or every week, and I don't know what's happening. But then I also have some friendships where we may not talk for months, but then the day we talk, we're like talking for hours, or we keep in touch somehow, even though we're not like chatting. We know that we're there for each other. If you call me now, I will just appear wherever you are to help out with whatever you need help with, like whatever is going on in your life. I will show up and I'll be there. Like these are my guys, my people, but we may not talk every day, and I have some friends that we do that every day. So it's not really about how often you talk to each other or how often you see each other physically. But there's also the emotional, quote unquote, non scientific part of it where it's like you can't really put a number on it. You can't really pin it down, but there's just this sense when you have this sense of belonging with this person and this sense of comfort and being able to even have that the capacity to even ask the question like, are we still friends? What are we doing here? What are we? The capacity to ask that question, the ability to ask that question in that kind of relationship shows a level of vulnerability and the space, being able to have that space to bare your heart like that. Because honestly, the trouble that we have with friendships is that fear of I'm exposing my heart to someone, because people often don't think about it this way. You only think about it this way, you're thinking about like a boyfriend and a girlfriend, husband and wife kind of relationship. But with friendships, is also you're exposing yourself to someone, your deepest vulnerabilities, parts like things that you won't tell everyone. These people know these things, and you're taking that risk that they will say no, they are not interested. And it's a very scary thing. And that is what holds us back from really going to that third part of the friendship thing, the commitment part, where it's like, I'm committed to this person, I'm committed to this friendship, and I am going to lay out my vulnerabilities and risk being my heart being stepped on and being shattered. But the plus side, the positive, the possibilities that exist are also plenty. This is the potential for a lifelong friendship or even for a season, because I feel like some people are in your life for specific periods and they leave, and that's fine. It's heartbreaking, it's painful a lot of the time, but it's fine. And being able to say, I don't think that this friendship is doing me good anymore for whatever reason. And some people have superficial reasons for it, and some people have more emotional reasons. Like if somebody never shows up for you, like you're always showing up for this person, and they never show up for you, then you start to question, this person really my friend, or are they just being there because I show up for them, and whenever they need my help, I will show up, and are they just using me basically? So, in conclusion, I don't know the answer to what is a friend. What I do know is I feel like the people that I call my friends, to the varying degrees of friendship that we have, are people that in some way I'm able to be vulnerable with them about something, be it an interest that I have, what is going on in my life, my feelings, whatever that looks like, my goals, my dreams. In some way I'm able to be vulnerable with them as they are vulnerable with me. I don't think that if quote unquote friendship where only one person is being vulnerable is really a friendship, and that's my perspective. You may feel it differently. I do think that being able to share myself with someone else in some way is an essential part of friendship for me, and that's the vulnerability part. Then the decision to remain friends, commitment, then being able to do things together. If you also notice, a lot of time when people go on group trips together, if you go on more than one group trip with a particular person or group of people, you tend to become closer friends because shared experience, a challenging situation, something, it deepens your relationship with someone, or it can scatter the relationship. If the challenging situation does not scatter the relationship, it deepens it. But yeah, so vulnerability, commitment, repeated exposure in some way, and shared experiences. And that is I've concluded that is the square theory, my square theory of friendships. Thank you for listening. Next up, we're going to talk about building friendships. So come back tomorrow.